And this one's another one that's pretty interesting. Halloween. Yes, the Halloween franchise. Michael Myers. Yeah, it really must have been unfortunate to be on TV on Saturday, just to be Mike Myers on Saturday Night Live when that movie series was going on and popular. But it's sad. But yeah, Halloween. The story of Michael Myers, kid who went crazy years ago, stabbed his family to death. Um, so on and so forth. Now here's the interesting thing. The one of the creepiest characters in the movie, aside from Michael Myers himself, is in fact Dr. Loomis, and he remains as such throughout much of the franchise. And that's because, well, it's hard to explain. He's got this drive and determination to make sure that this guy stays under lock and key. He had many one-on-one sessions with him. He knows how he thinks. He knows how he is. Or more appropriately, he knows what he is. And because of this, he's almost as determined to either keep locked up or take down Michael Myers as Michael Myers is to kill. So it makes for a very interesting sort of proverbial head-on collision. Now, in the first movie, in the beginning you see him stab someone to death, and then, it turns out that that's his family. You see him stab his sister to death, fade to black, that sort of thing. And then it picks up years later in Haddonfield. And, it's the typical, you have your cluster of teenage girls, one of them's a babysitter. Right there, when you find out, or actually a couple of them are babysitters, it's the typical high school girl stuff that you used to find in horror movies and even sometimes still find. Oh, Lord. Sorry about that. And of course, it's pretty interesting in terms of how they set it up because they don't rush it. It's actually pretty interestingly paced. Some people have said that it moves too slow. I don't think so. I think that it's actually a pretty interesting setup. It definitely makes you feel like this is just a normal, kind of sleepy town. If it seems like it's dull in the beginning, it's supposed to be. I mean, this is supposed to be a dull town. Nothing exciting happens here. Nothing. They're not supposed to be prepared for the psychopath that comes to their town. Okay, it's a tiny town. Now, what really set Michael Myers apart from a lot of the slashers out there is his MO. The way he worked. He is freaky as heck because there are times he'll actually show up. You'll see his intended victim. You'll see who he wants, and he'll be in there. He'll be in the same building as them or near them, watching them, but he will not attack them. There are times you will actually see him in the house behind someone. From your point of view, they're facing the other way. You can see him back there. And then when they go to turn around, he walks out of sight and he's not there, and then he's just gone. The guy stalks his victims like a friggin' predator hunting prey. He is very methodical. He is very particular about when he strikes and how he does it. And that is something that I find to be quite fascinating about him as a slasher. And then, of course, in part one, he goes on a killing spree. He kills a few of the kids. Kills Laurie Strode, the main character, her best friend. Kills a couple of her other friends. Dr. Loomis is working with the sheriff to try to get things under control there and find him. And of course, they're not taking him seriously. But they kind of start to. Anyways, long story short, Halloween night finally comes around. Michael Myers shows up, and he is in fact trying to kill Laurie Strode. In fact, he's trying to kill her like crazy. She goes over to the the other house. She goes upstairs, finds her friends dead up there. This is where I have a great deal of admiration for the cinematography of this movie. She goes into the room, which of course has the lights on. The bodies, she sees them. The one falls down from the closet. She runs out. She shuts the door, and it's like pitch black. You can barely see anything on the screen. But then, what they did was they actually took put a dial on the lighting they were using and turned it down, and then a dimmer, so to speak, and then they just kind of slowly turned it up. So it was like her eyes were adjusting to the dark, and so were yours, in a way. And as they're slowly, brightening it up, you can see him back there in that linen closet or room or whatever. And it's like, oh my gosh. And yeah, it managed to be really good, suspenseful movie. Proved that movies can be scary, in fact, downright terrifying in some instances, without having to have all this gore. Now, Halloween 2 was interesting because, it literally picks up right where the last movie left off. Dr. Loomis plugs him, Michael Myers, in the chest multiple times, falls off a second-story balcony onto the ground below, and he just gets up and walks off. That is a pretty impressive feat. You start getting the feeling that this guy really is unstoppable, that there's no way to beat him. And so it starts off that way. He's loose. They're looking for him. The city is pretty much in a panic. Laurie Strode gets carted off to the hospital, where she's constantly demanding not to be put to sleep, where she doesn't want to be just left there defenseless. She's worried that he'll come for her. They're telling her, don't be silly, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Long story short, he comes to the hospital after all. And, of course, Dr. Loomis is still looking all over town. Then he starts getting some clues as to Michael's past and why it is he feels the need to do this and to come back. There has to be some sort of significance. And in the middle of his investigation, right when he has a lead, the governor apparently summons him away from the town, which he is not at all happy about. Meanwhile, Michael is slowly but surely stalking Laurie Strode in the hospital, killing off the skeleton crew staff that is there for the night. In the course of this, perhaps you can argue whether or not this is a very contrived plot point, but it then turns out that Michael Myers, in fact, had a baby sister, which is Laurie Strode. The reason she has a different name is because after what happened with Michael Myers and his sister, he was committed, but the parents died, and the young child, the baby basically, was adopted out to the Strode family, who then requested her records be completely sealed to protect the family. And they were, which is why Dr. Loomis didn't know this until after the chick from the governor's office tells him, at which point he hijacks the federal marshal's car and tells him to take him to the hospital. And, that's possibly, honestly, the way Michael Myers kind of dies in this movie seems like it should be the most definitive way to kill him. They hit the ether. They get it going. The room fills up with gas. Laurie runs. Of course, this is after Michael got stabbed in the eyes, no less. Dr. Loomis lights it and kaboom. Seems like that would be a fitting ending, right? Seems like that would be a good way to end it. And in fact, it was supposed to end there. Michael Myers was not supposed to appear in any more of the movies, which is why Halloween 3 is a completely disassociated story. See, the original idea was, okay, let's wrap this one up, and then we'll keep doing these Halloween films based on different tales, different stories, different myths or legends or urban legends or whatever, a different tale every movie. And it would have been it's actually an interesting idea, and it'd be interesting to see if someone ever tries to take something like that up, because of, you know, it's just interesting to have an anthology like that. But yeah, so part three comes out, and the idea, even though it's such a good idea, to be honest, winds up smashed against the fact that the movie sucked. The tale that they picked to start with, kind of lame. The delivery, the product, kind of lame. So what do? They go back to Michael Myers for part four. Now, the fact that Michael is still alive and able to see after getting stabbed in the eyes, and the fact that Dr. Loomis is still alive too after a blast like that, although to their credit, at least they gave them burns, but still. Um, Plus, Laurie Strode's supposed to be gone, whatever. He's not even after her this time. He goes after his cousin, his little cousin this time. And it's an okay movie. I'm not gonna lie, it's an okay movie. But what really gets me, is how they give the giant middle finger with these two movies. The end of this movie, this little girl who has been so traumatized, who witnesses Michael Myers die, becomes possessed by the same demon that was possessing him. Has the mask on, everything, the bloody scissors, just like he had the bloody knife. She stabbed I think it was the nurse or whoever that was helping her upstairs. Coming down the stairs, Dr. Loomis is bawling his eyes out because now it's this little girl. And that's where it ends. Then the next movie picks up in the exact same spot, and it's boom! Little girl wakes up screaming silently because she lost her voice, apparently. And it's a full year later. It was a dream. Yeah. And then it's even more. And then her sister, whoever was helping take care of her, she dies somewhat early on. Pretty much everyone trying to guard this girl dies. Then at the end, Michael Myers is arrested. They have him in jail. And in an ending that is so bizarre, I can't tell if it's supposed to be a setup for the next movie or who did what or anything. Someone shows up, there's a bunch of gunfire and explosions inside the jail, and the little girl hides, and then when the noise is gone, except for the alarm, she gets up and goes over and walks through the door, and you see the cell door is completely blown off, and the police office or whatever is trashed, and there you go. That's it. Then in the next movie, we skip years ahead. Supposedly, the little boy from the first movie is now somehow a full-grown adult, basically. So is his cousin, who apparently has a baby that they want, and he kills her in the very beginning, and it's weird. There's some sort of cult controlling him or something. Terrible movie. I'm gonna say that right there. Terrible movie. Terrible idea. Very forgettable characters. Horrible. Then comes Halloween H2O. That one I like. I'm not gonna lie. It's interesting because it goes back to Laurie Strode, who's under a different name. Trying to hide, she faked her death years ago to, just in case, to get away from everyone, get away from the trauma, trying to get on with her life. She's got a daughter now, she's got a girlfriend, oh wow. No, she's not a lesbian. Though I bet I can already see the comments saying that would have made it a better movie, but no. Anyway, no, she's got a boyfriend, she's in a relationship. Just trying to live her life, but she keeps having these visions. She keeps thinking that she's seeing Michael Myers again. Now, see, the whole premise of this movie almost suggests that parts 4, 5, and 6 never happened. So, first you have Part 4, which completely ignores that Part 3 ever happened, because it's almost completely disassociated with the franchise. And then you have Part, well, frankly, 7, which ignores that 4, 5, and 6 even happened. See? But anyways, that movie I thought was really good. It was interesting, and the ending, superb. It was. The fact that it finally came to a head, just him versus her, it was, good. I liked it. But here's what I don't understand. See, then comes Halloween Resurrection, wherein supposedly at some point during this constant non-stop time that you see this stuff, Michael Myers, after he falls, even though very little time happens between him falling and her getting to him, managed to fake like he was dead or unconscious, wait till a fireman got close enough, knock him out, take off his fireman gear, put it on himself, to put his jumpsuit and his mask onto this firefighter. And then what? This firefighter is, acting like him or slashing or whatever because he's confused or something? I don't get it. It's weird. It just didn't really flow with the last movie. Now, they say there are subtle hints here and there that suggest that maybe that's what they were going to do, but it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't. When you actually see it play out, it makes no sense. So, Resurrection, though, I wasn't really that big of a fan of either, so to me, I don't know, I like to think of that one as not having not happened either. This is for my personal enjoyment, by the way. I'm not saying that makes it so, but see for me, in the Halloween films, there was only really 1, 2, and H2O. Halloween and H2O, 20 years later, yes. I made a big deal out of it. But to me, those 3 are the only ones that matter. They're the ones that I like, they're the ones that I'm trying to own. Lord knows that it's impossible to find H2O anymore, aside from looking online, which I'd prefer to avoid. Because, even when it's dirt cheap, they get you with shipping. But, whatever. So that's Halloween, and the next franchise we're going to be focusing on, well, better get plenty of sleep before we focus on it.